guys, welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to like this video and hit subscribe so that you can stay up to date on all the newest fitness and nutrition content I have to share with you in hopes of finding your healthy place. Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to go over macros, what they are, and how to track them. So macronutrients are needed in large quantities for normal growth and development. They're the body's source of calories or energy to fuel all life processes. This includes activities of daily living, which would be cleaning, taking your dog for a walk, grocery shopping, any of those kind of things you have to do from day to day to keep your life going. Exercise, anything you do additionally into your activities of daily living, and then that also includes your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, or your resting energy expenditure. So this would be just kind of just laying around, breathing, just existing. This is how many calories your body needs in order to function just to keep you alive. So macronutrients can be seen as carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Those are the three major macronutrients. First, we're going to look at carbohydrates, which are the body's preferred energy source, specifically the brain and nervous system when it's broken down into glucose. Carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram. So that's how much energy they provide the body when they are consumed. And then we can get glycogen, which is found in meat and seafood products, and starch, which is found in grains and veggies. That's why it's important to get a good mix of carbohydrates and to vary them so that we're getting all the vitamins, minerals, and everything that we need from all sources. Carbohydrates can be broken down into simple and complex. Simple carbs are short chains of sugar, usually 1 or 2 chains. They are in their simplest form, and they include fructose, galactose, maltose, lactose, and glucose. So a lot of these sugars can be found in like fruit, dairy, and things like that. Complex carbohydrates are long chains of sugar, which are usually 3 to 10 chains, and they consist of starch and glycogen. So these include your vegetables and your grains. They definitely, they take longer to break down. They're not in their simplest form, so they kind of fill you up longer. And this would also include fiber. Now, carbohydrates are stored as glycogen when they're not immediately used, and they're stored in the liver and muscle cells until they're ready to be used. But glycogen can rapidly be broken down into glucose so that it can be used for energy when it's needed. I think this is very important because people don't realize that carbohydrates are not the enemy. We need them for energy to do all life things. And it's important, especially right before, if you're going to do a very taxing exercise or activity, to make sure you take in carbohydrates to give your body the fuel it needs to get through that workout. Now, carbohydrates contain many water molecules, making them large and bulky. And I think this kind of goes back to another reason why people will cut out carbohydrates, because they don't feel that that bulky feeling when they cut down on carbohydrates, because they're not taking in as many water molecules when they do it this way. So they definitely feel smaller, they feel lighter. But this also makes carbohydrates unsuitable for long-term energy storage. So this is why we also have to consume them daily and with every meal, and especially before we're about to do something very taxing on the body, because we cannot store it long-term. There's just not enough room. So it's definitely important to make sure that you are continuing your intake of carbohydrates throughout the day and daily, not cutting them down too low, because your body needs these as its main source of energy. Now, if we do consume more carbohydrates than we can use or store, this excess sugar will be converted to fat and stored long term. So that's why carbohydrates get a bad rap. It's mostly people are consuming too many carbohydrates, so they decide, oh, I'm going to eliminate them altogether. And then Usually that doesn't last long and they gain all the weight back. And it's because our body does need carbs. You just need to find the good mix of them for your daily living and your activity needs. But it's just being mindful of how many carbs you do eat. A lot of processed foods are very high in carbohydrates, very high in sugars, and that's what gets us into trouble, not just eating carbohydrates alone. Moving on, we're going to talk about protein. These are the building blocks of human structure. Protein is made of polypeptides, which are amino acids formed by peptide bonds. So amino acids are the very basic structure of a protein. And protein is important because it functions to help the brain, blood, nervous system, skin, hair, muscle. It transports mechanisms for iron, oxygen, vitamins, fats, and minerals. And it's also the key to acid, base, and fluid balance. So protein is very important. It's more than just there for building muscle. It does so much more in the body, and it's so important that we take in enough. And I think a lot of people don't take in enough protein on a daily basis. And it's very important to make sure that we're getting all the protein we need to sustain life. Some other things it can also do, it forms enzymes to speed up chemical reactions, and it helps form antibodies. So it helps with our immune system and keeping us healthy. Now, protein, like carbohydrates, offers 4 calories per gram. So it offers the same amount of energy as carbohydrates do, which is why we still need to take in enough protein each day and each meal. This is why our recommended daily allowances for protein and carbohydrates are both higher than fats, because it provides less energy per gram, and we need to consistently take in more to meet those demands. Now, there are 20 amino acids, which, remember, the amino acids are the very smallest, or the simplest form of a protein. They're the building blocks. There are essential and there are non-essential. We're not going to break that down too far. All we need to know is that essential amino acids cannot be made by the body. So they need to be consumed through the diet. So we need to make sure that we are getting well balanced and complete meals with proteins. If you do eat animal products, they are complete proteins. They contain all of the essential amino acids. So you do not have to worry about supplementing to get any additional amino acids throughout your diet, because animal products do provide a complete protein. Now, if you eat a lot of plant foods or you're vegan, these are incomplete proteins. They do not contain all the essential amino acids, but you can pair them to make complete proteins, which is very good. So you can still eat the way you want to. If you don't want to eat animal products, you don't have to. You just have to make sure that you are smart with pairing your proteins to make sure that you're getting a complete protein, because your body still needs all of these essential amino acids to do all the functions that it needs to do. So you could do things like grains and legumes, which would be like rice and beans, grains and dairy, pasta and cheese, or legumes and seeds like falafel. So I personally tried all these things. They're really good. I do switch back and forth myself from kind of like plant-based meals and animal-based meals. Like, I go back and forth. I'm not pro one or the other. It depends on what I feel like having, what my tastes are for the day. And I just like to mix up and try new foods. So moving on to fats. We want to make sure our fats are healthy. So these, like I mentioned, are the most energy dense. They provide 9 calories per gram. So pretty much almost double of what carbohydrates and protein provide. This is why we need to take in less fat than we would carbohydrates and proteins on a daily basis, because they're the most energy dense. But these fats help provide insulation, nerve transmission, cell structure, hormone, and vitamin production. So fats are essential. We do need fats in our diet. There's no need to eliminate fat from your diet. It is necessary for so many things and for keeping us healthy that you can't skip out on your healthy fats. We have essential fatty acids, which must be obtained from the diet. Just like our essential amino acids, we have fatty acids. The fatty acids are the very smallest form of fats. They're the building blocks of fats. So they must be obtained from the diet. And then we have omega-3s and 6s. Now, omega-3 fatty acids, usually people do not get enough of omega-3, and they do get plenty of omega-6. So omega-3 sources come from plants, egg yolk, cold water fish, shellfish, and they're important because they can help reduce clotting, dilate blood vessels, and reduce inflammation. They're great for eye and brain health, and they reduce cholesterol levels, especially your triglycerides and LDL. So it's very important to make sure you're getting a variety of omega-3s, and you're definitely varying your diet if you can, to try and get some of these foods incorporated in there to give your body those benefits, so that you can help bring down your inflammation, to reduce clotting, dilate your blood vessels. These are all great things, keep your eyes and your brain healthy. And so fats are not the enemy like a lot of people think. They are still great for our body. They do so many good things for us. But there are some bad fats that we do want to watch out for. Those will be saturated and trans fats. These contribute to clogging of the arteries and increased cardiovascular disease. So they cause atherosclerosis, which is a plaque buildup in the arteries. Saturated fats, sources of these are red meats, full-fat dairy, coconut palm oils, and these increase your LDL, or your bad cholesterol, which is not good, because then that leads to the plaque buildup in the arteries, and then the atherosclerosis and heart attack, and then we've got a whole bunch of issues. So saturated fats are found, like I said, in meats and dairy. And yes, we do want to incorporate these things in our diets, but sparingly. We don't need them in large quantities, because they're not going to provide good things for us in the end. Or if you have red meat, still try to get lean cuts and eat it sparingly. That's why they say like 1 to 2 meals a week with red meats, full fat dairy. Fats are good, but we just don't want all that saturated fat. And then trans fat, you're going to look for anything on a nutrition label that says partially hydrogenated. This means that there are trans fats within the product. So this helps increase shelf life, and they are extremely bad for us. They are worse than saturated fats, and they increase our LDL more than saturated fats. It has been recommended, I don't remember exactly when, but they do have to provide the amount of trans fat up to a certain amount in each food on the food label. So you'll definitely see a lot of foods now have a lot less trans fat than they used to. And that's because it's been regulated a lot better now. But if you look in the ingredients and see that it says anything partially hydrogenated, there is still trans fat in it. It just might be under a certain amount that they didn't have to report it on the label. So just still be careful of that. And then we have cholesterol. Cholesterol is actually good for us. We just don't want to get too much cholesterol, and we don't want it to go too high. So cholesterol is important for cell membrane function. It metabolizes fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, and it makes bile acids, vitamin D, estrogen, and testosterone. Now, those are all important things. So we do still need cholesterol. You don't want to completely eliminate it from your diet, but you do want to monitor it and not go overboard and go too crazy eating a lot of cholesterol. So you definitely still want to monitor it, but we do need those fat-soluble vitamins, bile acids, vitamin D, and we need our hormones, estrogen and testosterone. So we still need to consume cholesterol so that these processes and things can take place. So these are things we definitely want to either eliminate or bring down a lot in our diet. We want to focus more on omega-3s, omega-6s, polyunsaturated, monounsaturated fats, any unsaturated fat, and stay away from these ones as much as we can. All right, guys, so that wraps up our macros, breaking them down, kind of giving you a basic understanding of what they are, the importance of them. And now we're going to look at tracking macros, which is I didn't really go too in depth with this because this could be a whole nother video in and of itself. Um, but this is just kind of a small glimpse into how you would do it. Um, so first, you would have to find the ratio of carbs, fats, and proteins for you specifically based on your lifestyle and fitness goals. So for everyone, this is going to be different. I would definitely say reach out to a coach or a trainer, someone who is experienced in nutrition and macro tracking, so that they can help you with this. There definitely are um, there's definitely a lot of different apps and tools out there on the internet that you can plug in your information to, and they can give you like an estimated, here's how you would want to break down your macros for your lifestyle this current way, or if you plan to do this, this, and this. So there's plenty of tools out there, different formulas to use. But I like using MyFitnessPal. They also go by macros. They actually track like everything as you see here. They do sodium, potassium, all your vitamins, all your fats, your saturated, poly, mono, and trans. So your fiber, they do everything, which is really good because it's a real eye opener to look at this and see what you're really consuming when you actually put everything in. But I've been using MyFitnessPal, gosh, since maybe like 2011, off and on. Been using it for a very long time. It's like my go-to tracking app. I haven't really used any others, but any of the macro tracking apps, I'm sure, are really good. But they should utilize some kind of breakdown. They're going to ask you all your information, how active you are, like how what you do for a living, what your goals are, and then they will base all of that off of, and they can find your macros based off of all that information. So they'll find like your basal metabolic rate. This is, like I said, mentioned before, your calories needed while at rest, while literally just existing and breathing, laying in bed. They will find what you need for that, and then any additional activity on top of that, and with what your goals are, that will adjust the macros in that sense. So I would suggest utilizing an app to get like a good starting estimate, or getting with a coach and finding what macros would be good for you to start with based on your goals. That's why I'm not going to go too far into this, because it's going to be different for everybody. But the basics are, if you literally download MyFitnessPal, it will walk you through everything. It's a great app. I absolutely love it. I tell all my clients to download it and start using it because it's very helpful. You can put recipes in there. You can do so much good stuff in there. But once you find out the ratio of your macros that you need, you will input your foods and track and see how close you are to your numbers. So it'll give you a good idea. You might have, say, oh, I need 300 grams of carbs for the day. So it'll break it down. Like, it'll tell you each meal how many carbs you hit, and it'll tell you how many are left. It'll give you like a pie chart. It gives you it in all different like visual displays, so that no matter whatever's easiest for you tracking, it gives you these different ways of looking at it. And it's very helpful. And you can kind of decide, okay, well, I'm going to eat this many times a day. So you can plan all your stuff out ahead of time. You can input all your stuff for the day that you plan on eating into your daily tracker, and it'll have everything calculated for you. So you'll know where you are at your goals. So before you even head out for the day, if you're like, oh, I need to up my carbohydrates a little bit, then you can add some more food to it, looking to see what kind of stuff you have on hand at home. And that makes all the difference. So you can easily plan and have everything tracked for you and go out the door with everything in hand that you need without having to stray from your goals. We do want to be mindful, though, when it comes to tracking macros. There's that if it fits in your macros philosophy I've seen out there. So some people will kind of take advantage of this and be like, oh, well, this ice cream fits in my macros and this candy bar fits in my macros. Yeah, that's great, but it's really not going to provide you any nutrients. It's probably going to provide you a lot of carbohydrates because of the sugar, and probably some fat. So it's not doing much for you in terms of protein, or healthy fats in that matter too. And it's just kind of loading up in carbs, but not in a good place. Like you're probably lacking a lot of fiber because there's no fiber in those things. So you still want to be mindful of what you're eating and choose healthier alternatives to meet those numbers. And as you track your food and input stuff, you'll see, you'll get better idea of, okay, well, this has this much fat in it. This has this much protein. So you'll kind of know what those go-to foods are when you need to kind of reach those numbers. So it's just a great tool to have. I really recommend it for everyone who wants to just kind of get an idea of what they're putting in their body. It's a great, great app. Um, I just can't say enough about it because I love it. I love all the information it provides. Not necessarily everything is probably 100% in there with the information, but it's very accurate and it's a very good um, tool to utilize and to have in your back pocket. So that's all I have to say on that today. Thanks for watching.